everybody, this is Kohdok here, and as you know, it's been a long year for us here in the Bakugan fandom, and you know, like I did last year, I figured I'd do it this year. So this is Bakugan 2011, the year in review! Now this year it's been kind of a mixed bag for those of us in Bakugan. There have been some good things, but there have been some bad things as well. I think we've actually experienced a bit of a net loss, but allow me to elaborate. First of all, the good things. I think that the Sky Raiders and the Marvel gimmicks that they came out with are actually really cool ideas. I like that they're trying to branch out into crossover series because this will bring new attention to the game from people who come from it from the other side. I mean, I know I'm more interested in Marvel thanks to Marvel vs. Capcom. And the Sky Raiders, I actually kind of like the gimmick. The way they spring in the air, it's actually a pretty cool function that I really like. Another one is that, another really big one, is that the big combiners that they sell for like 30, 40, 50 bucks can actually be used in the game. This Dragonoid Destroyer actually has rules. Now, I'm going to go over this thing later, but the fact that you can finally use this thing and it doesn't have big old chunks of worthless parts like the Dragonoid Colossus and the Dara Colossus had, I think that's a bit of a step forward. Now, it has gotten a little bit action figure-y and a bit less gamey, but oh well. Another one that a lot of people are anticipating is they finally have rules for Bakugan that combine. Now, Bakugan that combine, the Baku Fusion Bakugan, they've been around since Nuvastroya, or in fact I think maybe even a little bit earlier, but they haven't really had any in-game function until now. But now you can actually use them in the game, like this one here. When you land them both on a card, you win that card. And some of them, like this one here, actually look pretty good. This thing looks really cool, I like it a lot. And as a bonus, I has a Bakugan named after me. This is Kohdok. Now, I don't know if it's really named after me or not, but I'm conceited enough to believe that my name had some influence on its design. I mean, it's only an evil, darkest dragon Bakugan. I'm sure that's what they see me as over in Spin Master. Unfortunately, there is also the bad. Part of the bad is the appreciation in price. The Bakugan have gone up to about $6 a pop. Now, they're still $5 at some places like Family Dollar, but the increase in price is really putting some strain on the fandom because $5 was kind of a magic number to be at. It still is a magic number. It's how a lot of their competition has priced themselves, and it's kind of created some distance between Bakugan and its fans. The support pieces have gone up in price. They've about doubled in the span of about a year. And the Baku Triads have really seen the impact from this. And those Marvel sets, whoa, they're really high, but like I said, because it includes a crossover, I don't really have as much of a problem with that. Another one is the lousy distribution at the end of Gundalian Invaders. We saw the end of Gundalian Invaders, but we did not see the end of Gundalian Invaders this year because it never showed up. It barely had any distribution at all. I haven't seen any of the final wave stuff they claimed came out, the final super assaults or anything like that. And the second wave of Baku Nano didn't come out either, which means that a lot of the Mectagon that did come out are totally useless because they work with an unreleased Baku Nano. And there was the closure of Bakugan Dimensions earlier this year. Suddenly, without warning, and after a very major update, Spin Master announced that Bakugan Dimensions was going to be closed. Now, I'm not really sure why. I'm pretty sure they were probably losing money on it like they did with Swipe Out. But you think they'd have learned their lesson from Swipe Out and figured out a way to do it in such a way that makes money, but I guess they just haven't learned it yet. And the Bakugan online community, the forums, they recently got shut down too, just in time for me to complain about why there's no love for Chaos. Like the Aragan in the show is Chaos, but I'll go over that later. And another one is the new show. Gundalian Invaders was pretty awesome. Mectanium Surge was kinda not. I mean, I read summaries of the series and it seems awesome, but it's just so slow. I swear, we probably have enough footage to make 10 episodes that is just Dan standing around brooding. You know, if they could pick up the pace either by writing a better series or changing the limits on shows that can be syndicated, and it's Cartoon Network, I don't even think that counts as like syndicated television, to make it so that it could be a bit more faster paced, you know, I think that would probably work better, but it was just filler. It got staler than the Boo Saga after a while. It also saw the end of the Super Assault line, but I think I know the reason behind that, because The special attack Bakugan, these were popular Bakugan like Preyas and Dragonoid and Hydronoid and Helios and Elfin. Now, the Super Assaults, on the other hand, were things that nobody had heard of. Nobody knew what Corsairus was, nobody knew what Lumatroid was, nobody really cared as much than having the special Dragonoids. And I think that is one of the things that really hurt the chances on the Super Assault. So as a result, Spin Master just got rid of it altogether. So that the series does not fall any farther, I have created a list of New Year's resolutions that Spin Master ought to follow. I will no longer increase the price of Bakugan without an increase in quality. Now, like I said, a lot of the things have gone up in price on Bakugan, but when they kind of fall apart when you put them out there, I don't know if it's really worth the benefit. Like the Kohdok core, I can barely close. I will stop treating Bakugan like a fad and instead try to make it a classic. I've said it a few times before, everybody knows it by now, but Bakugan isn't hot anymore. It's kind of faded away in favor of things like Beyblade and Pokemon. But Spin Master, the way they keep churning out more stupid gimmicky things at higher and higher prices, seem to think it still is a fad. Well, guess what? It's not anymore. What you need to do is you need to work to making the series a classic. Do some things that cater to the fans you still have, because you're not really drawing that many new ones in. So, in order to make Bakugan continue to survive, you need to appeal to what you have left. I will reboot the stale anime into something new, Digimon Tamer style, because, let's face it, once you've absorbed the energy of the universe 3 times, what's left? A reboot of the series, I think, would be a good idea. They did a sort of reboot when they started New Vestroia. They rebooted the G-Powers back down, but they haven't really done that since, and as a result, everything has gotten it's just a big struggle fest. I think if you gave the anime a reboot and had them actually follow the rules with the grace and dignity that they did with the first series and other competing series like Yu-Gi-Oh! Do, then I think you would probably be a lot better off. Like, Digimon Tamers, right after Digimon Adventure 2 was kind of the end of the big fandom, Digimon Tamers came along and blew everybody away. So, if Bakugan could figure out how to do the same thing, I think that would be for the best. I will put more effort into the reboot than I did with Renekai. Yeah, Spin Master seems to have this issue with thinking kids aren't that smart. And I mean, I know kids aren't that smart, but they're not as dumb as Spin Master thinks they are. They need to put some effort into the reboot. Like I said, Digimon Tamers came completely out of left field because of how they took the tone. And a bit of a more subtle one here, but I will change the word enemy on cards and rules text back into opponent. Here's the thing, it's a subtle thing, but it is so important because enemy is such an incredibly strong word. It's very strong language. When you call somebody your enemy, you refer to somebody that you want to deliver incredible amounts of harm to, maybe kill. Whereas an opponent is the term used to kind of promote the camaraderie amongst the gaming community. Now, what's really bad is why Spin Master said they changed it from opponent to enemy. It's because they think kids are too dumb to know what opponent means. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I guess they think kids spend more time listening to Disturbed than they do looking up things on Google. I mean, I go and look at these old games. I look at Sorry, which is a game for 6-year-olds, and they use the word opponent. Yu-Gi-Oh! Uses the word opponent so much, it's practically every other word. So, what's the big deal? I mean, just changing it back into opponent, it's not that bad. It doesn't use such strong and offensive language. I will import Bakutech, or at least design Bakugan to Bakutech standards. Bakutech, as you guys probably know by now, is a series of Bakugan that was released in Japan in conjunction with Koro Comics. Now, their gimmick is solid. They have some parts that swap out and can actually be swapped out, unlike the stuff they have for Fusion Dragonoid, which kind of falls apart when you try to do it. But the thing is, the Bakugan are also well made. Unlike these weird cubes that they try to call round, they actually remain round when they're in their closed forms, and are able, they stay closed until they need to be open. They have a variety of special things. They just look so good with their awesome color schemes and stuff. You know, if you're gonna drive up if the price of Bakugan has to go up to $7 a pop to get this level of quality, I actually don't have a problem with this. They're 700 yen in Japan, which is about $7 US. Okay, maybe it's actually more like $9 US, but you get the idea. And you know what? While we're at it, why not import the Bakugan that we missed, like Cross Dragonoid and Minx Elfin, and, the Districon gear, all the stuff that we didn't get to see in the United States because it didn't come out in time. The molds exist for them. You don't have to develop any new technology. Why not bring those in while you're at it? It's the things that people have missed. It's careless things like that that causes people to leave the fandom. So people won't mind if you clean up. I mean, it took about as long to get an RC as it did to get a Unicron. And you know what? The Transformers fans, they didn't complain. Sure, they might have complained about the details like they usually do, but at least they finally had unique figures for these characters. Even if it took like 10 years. I mean, I don't want it to take 10 years on this, but here's the thing. Nobody will be mad if you bring them in. If I make a new online game, I will properly subsidize it to keep it going using my connections. Advertising. There is nothing wrong with a little advertising in a game. Angry Birds uses it in order to put out their free app, and a lot of other games use it too. Spin Master boasts how they have connections to places like Walmart and McDonald's and Toys R Us and other family-friendly companies like that. Why not have a little advertising from those companies, like on the loading screens and stuff, in order to keep the game funded and keep it running? That is how an online game works. You need to find something to pay for it other than just the toy gimmick. Only a few companies have managed to do that, and that's usually because they're used to investing a lot into things like this. And finally, I will respect my fan base. That's one thing a lot of other series do, is they actually tend to listen to their fans for ideas. Spin Master hasn't been terribly keen on that. I mean, they might post a little cutesy-wootsy thing or say, oh, I'll call the distributor in order to make it look like they're doing something, but really, it's not the same. I mean, shutting down Bakugan Dimensions out of the blue after a major update without even asking the fan base whether or not they'd be willing to, pay for it or something, that was just balls crazy. And then shutting down the forum community so they couldn't receive any feedback for anything, a lot of threads of which were saying, hey, when's Bakugan Dimensions gonna come back? That also wasn't very nice. Spin Master seems to have this issue where they'll only listen to criticism if it's nothing but gushing and praise, and that is really gonna hurt them in the long run. So, we've had a year full of ups and downs, and hopefully 2012 will be a right side better than the last ones and won't bring us the Bakugan apocalypse. And if you look at this, I got tons of new stuff I can review, so I'm going to try to get started on those once the new year rolls around. And so until then, this is Kohdok signing off. Happy New Year!